Hello, everybody. Adrian Plass here.
Yes, I'm Bridget, and first of all, we have to apologise for our numerical inconsistencies, don't we, Adrian? What number are we,
like
darling?
That. Well, I am reliably informed that it's number 287.
Right.
Okay.
So let's hang on to that. Okay, 287.
Now, we have in front of us,
in
our room here, facing us, we have our new, new second-hand electric fire. We have not yet been attacked by email or in any other way by purists who think we should be condemned because we've gone over to the dark side, as I said last time.
But we have had a lovely email from somebody who, on the basis of this, told us, I'm not sure if it was shamefacedly, Adrian, our lovely friend in Canada, who said that he had hunted out an 80-year-old electric fire to put it in clean it up, repair it, and put it in his sitting room.
Well, I think he must have plucked the number 80 out of the ether somehow. I don't know. But anyway, no, he has. He's rebuilt it. And this is annoying about people who can do these things. He's rebuilt it, polished it, got it fixed, and it's
We're
working.
Struggling to put up some Christmas lights. I've started, aren't we, Adrian?
But it is true. I mean, the main reason originally was to create a new focus, and it does do that.
Yeah.
So now we have the Christmas tree with lights on it, and we have the fire, which is actually keeps us warm and provides a sort of. I tell you what, a while ago now, we went to see some people who we know reasonably well, and we were told before we got there that we would be shown their new electric fire, and we went into the.
I didn't know you were going to talk about this.
We went into the sitting room. Yeah. And they said it was the worst electric fire in the history of electric fires. And it was very difficult to know how that could be. But in fact,
it was.
It was, because there it was. And all there was in the not the grate, but the pretend grate was a sort of lump. And when you turned the fire on, it's very difficult to describe. It heaved itself very slightly and went like that, and the sort of slight glow appeared and then disappeared. It really was the most awful electric fire we've ever seen. However,
well, on another level, we did have somebody very, I don't know, we know her quite well, and she said that her fire has gone out. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for her or for anyone else.
But did she mean metaphorically, or?
Oh, yes, of course she meant metaphorically.
I'm just checking, that's all. Right. Yeah. Okay.
What, you thought she might have meant that her fire had gone out?
Right,
no.
Right. I understand.
But I mean, there is so much encouragement, isn't there? I mean, Isaiah, who we look to at the moment for the things that he clearly somehow sense from God about the future, about the birth of Jesus, about the tragedy of Jesus, and about the whole thing, really. But I mean, he said that a bruised reed will not break, which is one thing, but he also said that a smouldering wick will not snuff out. And I think, you know, I was thinking a lot, Adrian, about, I know we mentioned it really, perhaps a bit, I don't know, flippantly, but about our memories of our fathers, both our fathers, trying to get a fire going with a bit of newspaper and blowing underneath it. But in a way, it's not a bad image, is it? That sometimes we need to be aware that somebody feels their fire has gone out and maybe needs a bit of blowing and a bit of holding up the newspaper for them. So that,
I suppose. I mean, my memory of my own father doing that is so stressful that I can't turn it into any kind of positive.
No, No, I'm going to turn it into a positive metaphor that maybe you and I, anybody in the world, could be the people who hold the newspaper up and blow gently underneath it in order that somebody who thinks, not in a very real sense, in a very genuinely real sense.
Seriously,
that somebody who feels their fire has gone out, actually, I do not believe, Adrian, it's one thing I do not believe, is that if something is put in by the Holy Spirit, by the Spirit of Jesus, that it will not die and that it can be fanned into life again, even if it's a bit flickery and a bit fragile.
Yeah, I think as someone who has been asked publicly so often whether I experience joy, I really am the wrong person to ask about joy.
Especially at about 7 o'clock in the morning, Adrian, when you were
actually, in the day.
an interview, if you remember, Scotland.
The problem is that someone will, and I think I've said this before, sure I have said everything before, but the problem is that someone looking for a good little lead for people who want to acquire or increase faith who are listening will say, tell us about your experience of Christian joy. And everything in me freezes, and on this occasion I said, well, it doesn't make me happy, because
I remember listening to this on the radio.
I'm not really a very happy person in the sense that I sort of run around and jump about in glee. And he said, yes, but I mean, Christians do experience joy, don't they?
And some do, Adrian.
Well, that's great, but I said, well, I understand that, and I understand that you're quoting something, and that is right, but I have to excavate quite deeply to see what that actually means. And poor fellow, it was not his fault, was it? And he persisted and said, so what is Christian joy then?
And it was quite early in the morning. And you're not great early in the morning.
I tried very hard, and I said, well, and it is true. I said, years ago, a little spring was opened in me, somewhere inside me, and it produced very clear water, and it was wonderful for it to be there. And it's still there. And sometimes it's sort of blocked or not operating or whatever. I don't want to go too much further into that metaphor. But it is, I don't know now how I could live without that.
No.
So, I mean, that's not a fiery metaphor.
Well, I think it's a parallel.
Quite similar, yeah.
No, it's a parallel metaphor. And if we're talking about fire, which we were last week, and that's been the response from our lovely friends in Canada who have resurrected a fire, cleaned it up, repaired it, and now have it in their living room. But I think for the friend who feels the fire has gone out, it's like a parallel that actually, no, it hasn't. It just needs a bit of blowing.
Yeah, it's easy to say that. Oh, that's
no, I'm not saying it simply, Adrian. I think sometimes, no, I'm not. I'm saying simply sometimes I think it's the responsibility of people who love somebody, cares about somebody, to say, it's okay, don't worry about it. It may look as though it's gone out, but I am going to hold up the newspaper and I'm going to blow underneath it. And you're laughing. But when you were really in a bad way, you had a friend called Ben, who sat with you in the darkness and didn't let the fire in you and the light in you, or whatever, the water in you, whichever image you're going to use, didn't let it completely
Of course,
disappear.
I agree with that. It's just that life is not like that on the whole. I mean, lots of people we know who have been or are believers. The journey is quite a tough one, because as you move, I was going to say forward, but it's more like playing that awful game where you hit a ball. What's that thing where the ball goes backwards and forwards and
do we know, darling?
I don't know.
Can you explain a bit more?
It's more like that you're taught things that are supposed to work or do work a bit. and you acquire those and you use them, and eventually they don't kind of work, which is a word I hate. People sometimes say prayer works, which I think is a very odd thing to say. But what I do believe in the best of human terms is that those who have asked for help or the closeness of God won't be neglected.
No.
And the way in which that happens is quite unpredictable. And I mean, the story of almost every single person we know who've been through this, and all through the Bible as well, is that you can never tell when something will happen that is unexpected and warms you.
Yeah, that will just bring that flickery old flame that looks quite dead back into life. It might be a place, it might be a person, it might be friends. And we've quite often talked about friends needing to do the praying for us. Like holding up the newspaper and whatever. What do you think, Adrian? I mean, in the news this week, we've got among all the other news is a very unusual bit of news which almost directly affects us, which is what's happened in Australia. I mean, because we love Australia and we've been there lots of times, it kind of does impact on us more than
what
maybe
were you thinking of
for many people. I'm thinking of the banning of almost all social media for under 16-year-olds. It's a huge thing to have a go at. And obviously, I mean, I was looking at some of the responses, and there's been a lot of responses to it. And because we've been in different areas of Australia, some of them really ring true. I mean, one of them saying we are so isolated that unless we have social media, our kids can't contact their friends. And we've been in Riverina. Can you remember what it was like?
Yeah, a vast area with very isolated houses, homesteads, farms. Yeah.
Do you remember some of them would say the name of the farm, and then we'd discover that it was miles down the track until we got... So there was that sort of response. Then there was the more cynical response of saying, well, teenagers will get round anything. And one of them saying, well, my friends have already worked out how to do their facial IDs so they can get through it. And then a great outpouring of parents saying it allows our children to be children and to be free.
People who are glad that this
they're so glad. So it's really a fascinating thing. Is it right to decide for a whole society, and it is a whole society of young people, sort of 11 to 16, to decide for them that they will not be allowed to access social media?
Well, it may be that it's actually too late to completely do that, because those people who say that most people now can work out how to get around barriers to what they want to do are very able to do it. But I can understand why suddenly someone who is responsible for a nation thinks, what have we done? Why have we allowed this to grow to the point where it's gone out of control, isn't being properly controlled by those who are supposed to be making sure the wrong things are not appearing, and picking at it and poking at it obviously isn't going to work. And perhaps they just think if we just at least try to establish some kind of... It's like the thing in New York where they wanted to lower the crime rate, and so they...
what happened?
Well, they went for a very low bar.
A zero tolerance, that's
things like cheating at on the underground station.
That's right, tiny things that apparently...
Very small things, yeah. And at a school locally to where we used to live, a new head came, and the rest of the staff were very unsure about how this was going to work.
Do you know, I'd forgotten about this. It was zero tolerance, but trainers, wasn't it? And
we're going to have zero tolerance to any rule what's the word? Infringement. So, and also the responsibility was taken away from individual teachers. So, if a child had the wrong thing or was doing the wrong thing, they would simply say quite calmly, I'm writing this in this book and that will be a problem for you later. But and it worked incredibly well. As long as it was absolutely consistently.
It did, and as long
continued.
as it was not just consistent by student to teacher, but also with the ethos of the school. Now, I can think of something much bigger, Adrian, where our children, when they were young, were involved in a youth group that was very much founded on the idea that you discussed, you didn't control. And that comes back to that whole idea of if everybody in the world lay down their weapons, we'd all be fine. But the reality of life is that there will always be kids who get around social media. There will always be firms who are concerned about their money and who will do anything, however evil, to bring young people into their grip. I don't know. I just think it's very hard. But you know what? I just think at least they made an effort. And with our own children, with the children of people we know, you're doing your best to try to keep them safe, aren't you?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it's a very interesting. The whole concept of how you change behaviour or how you persuade people to be different.
What were you thinking about?
Well, I was thinking of how the problem with the faith that we are involved with, not a fundamental problem. Actually, it's very much a problem which is part of it, that there is still a belief that it's about being good. That if you are good, then it will be all right.
So what needs to change there, Adrian? Because obviously having a good, strong influence on being good is quite a good idea. There's nothing on one level wrong with that, is there?
There's nothing wrong with being good, except that humans vote with their feet. And by that I mean that they do the thing that works for them. So you have something like, for instance, Jesus says at one point, if you give, you will be rewarded. If you pray, you will be rewarded. And there is a condition to that, which is if you tell everyone about it, you won't. But what I've been asking myself is
that doesn't mean reward on this.
No. I've been trying to ask myself, what does reward mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And what it means, clearly, as in with prayer, you shut the door, you go in, you'll talk to your Father, and Father who knows what is done in secret will reward you. But the reward isn't a Porsche or a bag of
Well,
sweets.
actually, I've known people for whom it is, but I know what you mean.
The reward is relationship. The reward is a belief in and a deeper understanding that you are, for some people who need it more than anything in the world, that you are loved, that you are wanted, and that you have a function.
And also
can
that
be
at that
really
moment you
useful.
get a smile in the eyes, like you do with any parent when something good happens.
Yeah.
You get a smile in their eyes. You don't necessarily get the equivalent of a Porsche.
No, but the motivation, but the only motivation that moves me is how much I care about somebody really, and I don't mean I go and try and make myself feel like that, but there's a strange tension, certainly in the Christian faith, between the need for obedience and the need for understanding you're loved, but the love comes first, and we keep saying this, keep bleating it out. But if you don't have the love, the rest is not likely to happen.
And that's really important for people to, when they look at people, isn't it? If they look at somebody who has not had the love, who is not, we work with kids who, some of them had no concept of what love was. And so how could they possibly, what starting point do they have to understand that, about walking in other people's shoes, about caring about the people that they thieve from. You know, how where do you start? And so that has to be sometimes the newspaper that we have to hold up, surely, to fan some flames, to bring something alive.
I think you have to be very creative.
Yeah, well, that's just what I was going to say.
And conditioned to the individual and what that individual needs, because rules aren't going to work like that. I mean, I saw too many kids who were in care and trying to exist in what people would call a normal home.
Yeah, exactly.
And asking, well, but where are the rules?
But that isn't the same as structure, Adrian. I mean, a good, wholesome structure is all right, isn't it?
Yes, of course it is, yeah.
I mean, in your secure unit, there was a wholesome structure. But I loved the rule breaking in your secure unit. I mean, for people who don't know, you ran a secure unit, didn't you? You were in charge of it for some time, slightly eccentric leader of something like that. But I mean, one of the slight problems was that every time you tried to make toast, the fire alarm went off. Yeah. And so you had to have the door open. That's now, in fact, all these kids who were in a locked up unit understood and never ran away while the door was open for the toast to be made.
They agreed that we would postpone all attempts at running off.
That's right.
Until
they had their toast.
I mean,
I find
it really
that a
isn't
fascinating
quite
image.
as simple as that. Before we go, I mean, there is a truth in that, which means we're all together and we're all trying to make things so we enjoy it and all the rest of it.
I don't think that's a bad way to start.
Which is a good thing. But because in the end, the rules and the law, and Jesus said this too, the law is love in the end.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
But also, Adrian, the belonging. And in that secure unit, there was a sense in the kitchen of belonging, wasn't there? You were a toast-making community. And if you wanted your toast and your tea or your coffee or your hot drink, you had to kind of agree. And that's what community has always been. Anyway, we'd love to hear from you about how you feel about what Australia is trying to do.
Yeah, especially from people in Australia, actually.
Absolutely.
It'd be nice to know how you think that it will develop. Yes, it's a...
And next week, when we speak to you, it will be in fact, it will be Christmas.
Yeah, well, it might go right, you never know. As one who is never quite happy in the normal sense. So, no, I'm looking forward to it. I am actually this year. I am, yeah. Okay, see you next week. Bye-bye.